Welcome back, viewers. Tonight is our special for our 1,000 subscriptions. I want to say thank you to all of you for finding some interest in our channel. And tonight I got a special treat for y'all. I'm going to talk to you about a friend of mine. We're going to interview him. And the last time I saw him was the night before I got raided and busted and got clean and went to jail and went to treatment and did all that other shit. I haven't seen him since, so it's been 6.5 years. If you watch and stay tuned till the end, I will tell you how this man not only in certain terms saved my life, but made the course of my family, the livelihood of my family change for the better. So yeah, don't leave. This is going to be a good interview. And now let me introduce to you my good friend, Ivan. This is Ivan.
Hello.
Okay, so let me tell you one thing about Ivan. When back in the early 2000s, when we were both introduced to meth, I didn't know him at the time. He started using meth and manufacturing meth, and I started using meth and selling meth. But as time went on, we were destined to meet, and we did. Ivan, why don't you tell us your story and start at, I know you told me one time about someone fucked you out of a lot of money, and you had everything. You were going to lose everything. And a coworker came up to you and said, "Hey, I got maybe a way out of this. Want to take it from there?"
I ran a diesel repair shop. Was self-employed, sole proprietorship.
Let me stop one thing. This man here is like the smartest guy I've ever met. He can fix anything. He can fix anything. Seriously, one time I wanted him to fix my my torpedo heater. I don't know if you guys that aren't in Minnesota know what a torpedo heater is, but I asked him to fix it, and he said, "Do you have a voltmeter?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a good one." I gave him mine, and he said, This ain't no good. I need one that measures microfarads." And I knew, wait a minute. You remember that?
Yeah.
And I said, well, this guy is over my head. So this guy can fix everything. I mean, I met a lot of tweakers over the years that can tear apart everything. I mean, they tear apart bikes and air conditioners and everything else. Well, this guy can put them all back together. So, okay, with that being said, go ahead.
I ran a repair business back in the 90s, 2000s, and I had a friend of mine that was a real good friend of mine, needed an engine put in his truck, and the bill come to like $35,000. Make a long story short.
This is a semi-truck.
Yeah, his wife didn't want to pay the bill, so they got the courts involved, and they took the truck away, and I had to settle for a $3,000 payment on the bill. It cost me $3,500 for the lawyer. And if I didn't take the payment, they were going to file bankruptcy, and I got nothing. So I had an employee that worked for me that knew how to make meth, and he told me what to go buy, and I bought it, and that's how it all started. Just went from there.
And then you gave him the supplies.
Yes.
You bought the supplies, gave them to him, and then he went and did a batch. Come back and said the dog had tipped it over. Yeah, so basically he screwed him out of his, allegedly.
Right. So then
screwed him out of all the supplies that he bought. So then I said,
well, he said, "You could do it again." I said, "All right." So I went and bought the supplies again, and this time I said, "I'm going with you. I'm going to, the dog ain't going to tip it over this time." And when we went to do it, I just paid attention, and it took off from there.
Now, were you Good in chemistry in high school?
Never took chemistry.
Never took chemistry. What did when you did your first batch or your second batch? What did it seem like to you? Was there any familiarity of anything else that you've done? Or
Well, I grew up with a grandmother that was paralyzed from a stroke, so I did a lot of cooking and baking and a lot of household chores and stuff like that.
following recipes and stuff?
Right,
Okay.
but and that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I know some people make it sound like it's this big secret recipe and you got to be a chemist and you got to do this and that. But I've done it. You've done it, and
there's different variations you can do. To make it a little better or whatever. A lot of it just depends upon the weather. The humidity, stuff like that.
yeah. So you started doing this, and you had to make up a lot of money
Yes, I did.
because you got to pay your bills,
Yes, I had to pay my bills every 30 days.
and
So
and it was net pay or whatever, right?
let's put it this way: I paid my bills off.
Yeah.
Okay, and by the time I got paid them off, I was addicted, not only to the drug but to cooking it. Nobody wanted me to quit.
Yeah, I hear you.
And back in the days, I cooked for 12 years. Back then, it was easy to get the supplies.
Yeah.
I went right to Central McGowan and got all my gas, legal tanks. Had a pharmaceutical place down in Iowa shipping me pills.
Yeah.
Body shop supplying me all the toluene I needed. So it was easy. I didn't have to have people running around grabbing stuff for me.
Yeah.
And most everybody I dealt with was a business owner. None of them are around anymore. They've all lost their businesses because of the drugs. They've all ended up in prison or,
Well, I lost everything.
you know.
I lost a good paying job, my bike shop, my house. I lost everything and built it back. You're probably looking at two of the most resourceful guys you've ever seen.
I lost a business, a house, a wife, everything,
Yeah, same here.
because of it.
But we didn't give up.
No,
You can't give up. So
lessons learned.
yeah. Sometimes here we are. We're both 59 years old.
Yeah,
And born in the same year. We're the last of the baby boomers.
yeah.
But everything that we've been through, you can chalk it up as a life lesson and as a life experience that now we're sharing it with all you viewers. Hopefully you'll see the horrors of the addiction to meth and either quit because you don't want to go down the same road, or you can stay clean by watching our videos. I just got to tell you one quick thing in here, and I tell this a lot, but when I started, my dad was when I started at 35, my dad was just retired, and I did it for another 20 years, and basically I ignored my father for 20 years, and then when I got clean, he was in his 80s, and now we couldn't go fishing. He wanted to go fishing all the time. He wanted to do this. He wanted to do that, and I just was too involved with the meth that I didn't have time for him, and I thank God for being able to be clean at the end of his life for 5 years, and he was extremely proud of me. And although he kept on saying, "If you were such a big drug dealer, where's all the money?" Because he's really a tight ass guy, He really everything's about the money. It's like, well, where's all the money? I always watch on TV. All the other drug dealers got piles of money, like Scarface over here. But he was funny, but he was extremely proud of me getting clean, and I did have a debt with him. I think it was a couple $1,000s. He wiped that clean. you know, when he found out that I was actually going to stay clean. But so yeah, so with that being said, like when we were both um, making it and using it and selling it, it was like we had all these people that like they hated us. They hated us behind our backs because they were jealous. But then when we'd show up at their house, they'd just be like buddy buddy, and like they'd laugh at all our jokes. Every joke that even remotely funny, they'd laugh and laugh, right?
Yeah.
So after a while, you really didn't know if you were actually funny or if you were actually had any friends. You know, it was just such a strange life to lead. You know, in hindsight, but you could tell them, all I got is a little bit right now. But if you give me, all I got is $20 worth. But if you give me $100, I'll come back with some more. And they'd give you all the money that they had, and then you could just blow them off for, if you wanted, 2 weeks. It don't matter. You showed up the next time you showed up at their house. They're like, you know, they spent the last 2 weeks just fucking dogging you behind your back, like that son of a bitch, a piece of shit. But as soon as you pull up in your car, they're like, "Hey Joe, hey Ivan, how you doing? Wow, oh, let me get that for you. You want something to drink? You want blah 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 blah." So this kind of takes over your life, like kind of like if you kind of watch the movie Goodfellas. I think it's kind of like that, but in a real backwards fucking hayseed hit kind of a way. Kind of white trash, kind of Goodfellas, right? Or kind of, sort of.
I never really had that experience because I made it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I always had it on hand. My problem is people were always pounding on my door.
Yeah.
You know, it was more of a hassle than it was a benefit. You know, after a while, it was too much. I couldn't get no work done.
Yeah.
I mean, people threatening to tell my wife because my wife knew nothing about it. You know.
Yeah. We had a mutual friend. At first, he was like a phantom. I never met him for like a few years. Some of my close friends knew him, but they wouldn't let me get near him because maybe they were afraid we were going to be too good of friends and we were going to, you know, who knows. But so yeah, we didn't meet for a while, but I was getting his dope, his meth, and it was the best meth around. So I was always hearing his name around, his name Ivan, and then he taught a few friends, like there was Johnny, JP, Danny, Matt, who else?
Rob,
Karen,
Tammy,
and then some of them guys they eventually taught me. So he really didn't teach me, but he did indirectly. But so in them days they were really cracking down. Basically, and this was like nationwide. If you had any type of meth felony or meth charge, they were giving you prison, whether it was your first time or not. So you'd think that would deter us. That would say, we go, hey, fuck this, you know. I'm not doing this anymore. But it didn't matter because we were so addicted to it, and it was so good, and it was, you know. All of a sudden, a good friend of mine and yours, you know, he got caught with a tank of gas. He went away for 4 years. The other guy went away for 4 years. You went away for...
I got a 13-year, 3-month sentence, 158 months.
And you did the whole bit.
I did 7.5 years.
7.5 years your first time in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the heat was on all of us, and we've got stories to last forever. We've got content forever. We will tell you stories, and they will come in good time. But we're going to focus on the night that I finally met him down at Rob and Karen's house. And I remember you gave me a small tank, and I carried this tank of very, very illegal gas through town under my jacket. Just that's how crazy high I was on meth, and I wanted to do a batch so bad that I carried it through town, and we hit it off pretty good that night. And so then this is when you had a diesel shop yet, or no?
No, that's after I
Yeah.
been.
Okay, why don't you back it up a little bit? And so how did you, from the time that one kid taught you how to do it, what happened then?
I had a cousin get involved in it, and we cleaned the process up. I ended up firing the guy that worked for me that taught me how to do it because, he wrecked a car and found out he was a federal informant. So he was working for the feds, snitching people out, and he taught me how to do it. All my dope went out the door in like a St. Cloud truck sales van, Went to business owners all over the place. I didn't deal a lot with the public.
So a lot of the meth at the time was going to well-to-do business owners.
Well-to-do business owners, And
and all the street people you never bothered with.
I never bothered with the street people.
That's what I was doing. Kind of.
The only reason people around here found out about it is because I let my insurance agent, who was a female, get involved in it, And she had a whole bunch of people living at her house, and it just got to be too much. I gave a bunch of these people jobs, and they had big mouths. Well, then I'd hired like Johnny Yellick to come over and paint a truck or something like that because I had a body shop too. And how did he want to get paid? Him and JP.
And those were high school friends that I grew up with.
Yeah, and the only reason I knew them is through Elwood.
Yeah.
Tammy.
Yeah.
But they weren't real close personal friends or anything like that. They were just acquaintances that people I did business with.
Right.
But I had people quit their businesses and come to work for me just because of the dope.
Yeah. Were you starting to get under a lot of pressure from like who's giving you the most pressure, the police or the buyers?
The buyers.
Yeah. Yeah.
The people that want to know how to make it, and once they knew how to make it, then they thought they could go someplace else and make it, and then come back to my shop. And I didn't want that kind of traffic,
Yeah.
I taught you to make it so you go out, get away from me, leave me alone, But it never happens that way. They always got a problem. They always come back, and they always got that dot connector connecting dots from one clan to the next,
Yeah.
And then so many of them were thieves, and they bring stolen property out to my shop.
Yeah.
And I had cops come out a few times, looking for stolen stuff, and it's like, I don't steal,
Right.
If one of my employees is and he's bringing stuff around here, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
Because he's done, But I never really felt any pressure from the cops, until probably 6 months before I got popped. Then I would start hearing helicopters. I'd walk out of my house at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd hear helicopters,
Yeah.
And I lived out in the country,
Yeah. I had that too. They followed me around when I was on my bike in the middle of the night.
Well, they took aerial pictures of my shop property for 3 years. I seen aerial pictures of it when I went to court after I got raided. For 3 years, they took aerial pictures of my shop property and my house property. Every time I made a change in the business, or they fly over and take pictures of it. They had statements stacked like this of people that told on me.
Yeah. Just so they could keep walking that day.
Right.
Yeah.
I
know, like in the old bike shop, there was a few times I'd go outside just to take a piss, and it'd be in the middle of the night, nobody there, and then I'd hear a cough. Be like, who's there? You know? And all of a sudden, 6, 7 flashlights turn on. There's a bunch of cops. Hey, I'm like, one of them must have had a cold or something, coughed by accident. And they're like, hey, what's going on? One time they come up to me, I guess they didn't know what to say or something, and they go, we've had a report that you're running around in your yard in the middle of the night with flashlights. And I said, and that's strange to you? It would be more strange if I ran around during the day with flashlights, but you know, get off. But then they'd question me, ask for my ID, whatever. Well, you know who I am. I live here. You know, just stupid shit like that. But so they were kind of on to me. But yeah, it's fucking weird.
When other people started getting busted, and then they call me for bail money, that's when I started getting nervous.
Yeah.
You know, and what do you do? Because now I'm afraid. I don't know whether I should bail them out, or if I don't bail them out,
or you should just bail.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then you know, Johnny went down, JP went down, Danny went down, and all of a sudden they were really cracked down, and you went down, and then then I was here. I had to deal with the cartels because I wanted to keep on selling because I don't know, I was addicted and I I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to buy it. So I just kept on going and going, and then all my buddies were gone. Then they started getting back out, and yeah, now I'm moving ahead again too fast. But
well, when I met you, I'd already been raided.
yeah,
I hadn't went to prison yet.
That was when
because I actually beat those charges.
The one time when Lori came to your shop,
I could beat that charge.
That was with the stolen skid steer.
Yep. They dropped all those charges. The gun, I had all the guns.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. They dropped all that because I had that court system all backed up. I mean, that's a long story too. I mean, that's another episode. But they let me go. They charged me with aid and abet attempted conspiracy to manufacture because they found no drugs.
Right.
You know, they found precursors. You know, the only thing they really found that was illegal was in a tank in a carnival truck that was sitting out there that I had nothing to do with. You know.
Right.
But.
And in them early days, they really didn't know how to charge someone with the precursor yet too much, did they?
Well, they charged me with. They started out. They had 37 felony charges against me. They charged me with all the guns I had. They charged me with manufacturing. They found the safe I had, but they didn't know what it was, and they never tested it. They just threw it away. The precursors that they found, they left sitting on the apron in my shop. They didn't even take them with. So they didn't have it.
Yeah.
You know?
So they really didn't know
what they were. You know.
What they were.
So I mean, it's just. It was. They really didn't have anything on me, you know, other than the guns, and I just had people go in and say they're my guns. You know, my parents, my wife. I mean, what could they do?
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't have them, but everybody else could. So, but my wife had no idea what was going on. You know, so it was a total shock to her.
And then, like me,
it ruined my business. I mean, my customers all pulled out.
Like me, you got really good at lying about everything and anything.
Right. You know,
just based on the fact that human nature, people will believe what they want to believe.
Right.
So you can stretch that to the limit. You know, my mom and dad never believed that I was doing it because they didn't want to believe that I was selling dope. So it made it real easy for me to lie to them when they wanted to believe so hard that I wasn't. Right?
Well,
pretty much.
You know, my parents lived 100 miles from here, so
yeah.
I mean, I remember them coming down to visit me on my birthday, and I was at the shop, and my wife said, "Well, he's at the shop today." So they come over to the shop to see me on my birthday, and I wouldn't let him in the shop. You know, go home. You know, and I mean, it just ignored my family, ignored my wife. I mean, it's just.
And here we're two guys that had pretty normal upbringings. I mean, I was a city boy. We had cabins and hunting shacks, great parents, great siblings, and you were a farm boy,
Yeah.
farm kid.
Had one brother and 3 sisters. You know, we normal life, normal upbringing.
I had 2
Worked on the
brothers and
farm.
1 sister. Yeah.
You know, never got involved in drugs until I was 30-some years old. You know.
If I understood right, it sounds like you kind of got started when you were in a financial pinch and you had a
Right.
coworker that said, hey, we can cook meth and it'll get you out of a hard spot. But then you also sold to a lot of business owners. Typically, people think of business owners as sort of affluent. They've got a lot of money. They've been
Right.
very successful. So, in your guys' opinion, are you more likely to go down that road if you find yourself in a hard spot in life, or if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, you're the wealthy business owner? Who do you think's more likely to fall into it?
I see a lot of that on both sides. You know, I dealt with a lot of the wealthy people. You know, as the years went by, it was more the people that are what you want to call low life, or you know, thieves or whatever. You know, that didn't have a lot of money. You know, that or gangbangers or whatever. You know, that normally I wouldn't have dealt with. That don't really have anything in life. You know.
But to put it into perspective, like some of the people, the mutual friend that I was starting to talk about was, he was a guard at the prison, man. He was like,
Oh.
he was the,
Yeah.
he had been there for, he was 23 years at the prison, 2 years shy of his pension, and he was the biggest addict there was. And I know, I've known him since 2nd grade.
Yeah. He took a lot of the dope I made into the prison,
Yeah,
you know, and that's how he lost his job.
yeah. A year before he got his 25
Yep.
year.
And he was a big man. And didn't he
Would-
shrivel up to just about nothing?
Yeah, would you be safe to say he's one of the strongest men you've ever known?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I drove by his house just this afternoon where his house got tore down, you know. He's back.
He is.
He's got a trailer sitting on his lot and a big Ford truck sitting there. I saw it just today.
Huh.
I mean, maybe we'll have to go visit him.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So yeah, I don't know how good he's doing. I haven't seen him in 8 years, 8-9 years. But yeah, small world, small town. You know, this isn't a big. This isn't Minneapolis we're talking about.
How did you feel about the potential consequences of your involvement in the meth trade?
Oh, consequences? We didn't care. We didn't.
I didn't really think about consequences. All I ever did is breathe threats to everybody. If you rat on me, you take my life away, I'll kill you. That was my, you know. I had a poster that someone had brought me of this big red bulldog, because at my shop it was my way or the highway. You know, I'm the big dog. You know, I was the big dog.
Yeah.
If you didn't do it my way, get out. If you didn't like my standards, get out. You know.
And see, you got to realize that we're both a little crazy. You have to be in order to fucking do this. So all we had to do is just turn it up a little bit.
So
Turn it up a notch to.
I remember someone bringing some papers to my shop, one of my employees that had ratted out me. He'd been in the back of the cop car and he was pointing people's places out who were drug dealers. And he brought them out to my shop and told them my name and what I was doing there. And so after Mike showed me those papers, I called Jesse up, had him come to my shop, and I was going to kill him. I had him on the floor. I was strangling him, and Mo and Jimmy pulled me off of him to save his life.
And
You know.
Jesse was the one who took my Nazi flag.
So
That son of a bitch. But yeah, and then Jesse and the prison guard are like this now.
yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Small world. But yeah.
What was the most dangerous or scary moment that you guys had of just dealing in the meth world?
Someone shot at my building one night.
Were you in it?
I was in it.
Wow. What was that like?
When you hear them gunshots going off,
Yeah, what goes through
I
your
was
mind?
looking at the camera, going, "What the hell's going on?" You know, I mean, I started calling people and going, "Get your ass out here! See who's shooting up my building!" You know, and it was an acquaintance at the time. I didn't know him very well, and he brought somebody out there. He was going to kill him and then bury him out on my property. You know, but thank God I didn't answer the door. And he did it right on camera. I had security cameras sitting up. I mean, I had him right there, you know.
Yeah.
He was standing off camera when he shot, but he had the guy standing in front of my door when he was shooting. And he shot the locks off the door and all, you know.
Which
just,
could have ricocheted.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like in the movies.
Right, you know, and we were just talking about that guy tonight,
Yeah.
you know.
And then as far as me being scared, it's a different kind of scariness. But the good friend of ours, Johnny, you know, he was in my garage, and in my garage it was the back room and then the very back room where there was no exit, and we were back there cooking, and I had seen one of these pots go up before, and I think I've said this on the channel before. It's like a jet engine going off.
Yeah.
And right, I mean, it's a jet engine. And we were in the back, and he was stirring the pot, and, you know, with just a plain old stick. You had to use a wooden stick.
Well, no.
Well, that's what he said.
Okay.
But one little piece fell off and went inside, and it burst into flames. And it was about to start, but Johnny has pretty good nerves. He just nonchalantly just grabbed that top and put it on, and it was done.
Right.
And he was calm, and I'm like, I mean, it would have filled up with the deadly fumes.
Well, the black smoke. I mean, I had a few fires, you know,
Yeah.
at that time, but the worst one was when I burnt my hands, you know. I didn't know how dangerous,
Yeah.
you know, and I was wringing out some one time, and then when the air hit it, it blew up, and I had gloves on, rubber gloves, and I melted those gloves to my hands, and I didn't know really what to do. I mean, I called my cousin. She come and got me, took me to the hospital. I made up a story because I had a wood or oil burner furnace, you know, that it was
Yeah.
fixing my oil burner
More
furnace,
lies.
you know. and
We got good at
so I had to
lying.
go back in every day and get my hands whirlpooled, you know, and stuff
Yeah,
like
wax
that.
and
But,
shit.
so that was scary.
Yeah.
But the worst is, well, as time progressed, I started dealing with some Sons of Silence and Hell's Angels and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
They get to be some scary moments there too, but
Right.
Yeah. But mainly, I got scared from stupid people. A lot. Because they're so unpredictable.
I
And
tell you, when I finally got raided and busted, it was a relief.
yeah. Same here. When I got busted and raided, and that cop made me get down on my gravel driveway right out here and put his knee on my back, I was calm. I was just like, it was over finally.
Yeah.
It was over. And looking back at it to today, in my mind, I'm looking down from the scene from up above, and I see myself, and except it's not cop, it's Jesus. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the honest truth. This is how I see that scene still, because it was just
The night that they raided me, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. They come in my building. I was sitting in my shop watching the monitors, you know, and I'd seen a car go by, and where my shop was, it either had to go to Highway 10 or make a right-hand turn. Well, he went by and the lights went out. He never hit Highway 10. He never turned. And I'm going like, what happened to that car? Something's going on. And then Lori was sitting there, you know.
yeah,
So I got up and I walked out of my building, and I'm looking down the highway, and she goes, "There's a light behind you." You know, and I walked right by the cops that were crawling through the weeds to get to my building, you know. And I go, "What?" She goes, "There was a light behind you right in the grass, in the tall grass." I said, "Really?" So I turn around and walk, and I'm shining my flashlight along there. I couldn't see nothing. And so I'm coming back into the building. She goes, "There, that light is back there again," you know. And I'm going, you're seeing things. So I just walked in and I locked the door, and it wasn't 2 minutes, and the whole side of my building just went boom, just like trying to push it right off the foundation, you know. And police, open up, you know, and they finally got the door open, and that Fed walked in and he had us on the floor like this here, and he stomped on my thumb right there. "Welcome to your miserable fucking life as you know it no more," he said, and he broke my thumb. You know?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they said I was taking my garbage out, you know, to empty it in my kitchen garbage can, and I'm walking across my driveway, and I heard all this yelling, like, what the fuck's going on? I turn around, and there's 6 cop cars up the next block, and 12 cops, if maybe more, but they're all running at me with their guns out, saying, "Get down on the ground, get down on the ground," you know. And so I got down on the ground, and one guy he held me down, and I remember, you know, I've always been 240, 250s, 230, so somewhere in there, and he all these cops come around, and he goes, "Okay," he handcuffs me, and then he says, "Okay," and he tried to lift me up off the ground, but I wouldn't help him, and he couldn't lift me up. He had to get another cop to help me. and then the rest of the cops are laughing at him. "What, can't you lift him?" as 2 other cops come out from the garage high-fiving, they just found all my dope.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, it was all over, and it was really a relief. It was a relief, and then I went in for five days until my dad bailed me out, and then I went right into treatment, and it was all over the radio, news, and the newspaper.
Mine was too.
Yeah, and it gave me a clean slate to start with. It just like, you know, the lies were done. No more lies. I don't think I've lied since. I just really haven't. No need to anymore. I've lied enough for 2 lifetimes from doing meth. You know, lying to my parents, lying to my brothers. And like I was telling him one time, or just the other day, one of my brothers, we were inseparable. Through high school, we worked together at Bonanza Restaurant for 4 years, and we always hunted together. We did everything together, and so then when I got clean, you know, I kept it. I led a double life, and then when I got clean, I talking to him one day, and he's going, "So that's why you never called me?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh fuck, I thought you just didn't like me." So it kind of tells you, you know, how it affects families and people, and it's like I actually, fuck that. I still think of that. It made me feel pretty shitty. It still does, you know. But the addiction.
When I got busted the second time with a bunch of dope, I mean, I missed prison the first time. I didn't go. So I got a first degree probably about 6 months later here in St. Cloud. And my mom and dad lived 100 miles from me. And they were coming every week to see me for a 20-minute visit. And my dad sat there and he looked at me through the glass and he says, "You know, I've seen you more in the last month than I've seen you in the last 15 years. That hurt."
Yeah.
Because I ignored my family, you know.
Yeah.
Part of it was because I didn't want them to know what I was doing. Part of it was to protect them, you know.
And you were living this life like
Double life,
like me,
you know.
and you were full of guilt, full of
guilt,
shame, depressed.
I don't know if I was ever really
Some kind of depression that they got. I'm sure they got a term for it. I was.
The guilt,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You can't look anybody in the eye,
Right.
you know. I knew better. I knew what I was doing wrong. What would my family think of me if I, you know?
Yeah. And it was, and and we'd sit around. I would anyways. I'd sit around and watch YouTube about cops using excessive force and all this other shit. But it's like they're just doing their job. They want to get us off the streets because meth is like worse than any other drug because of the way it hurts the community. No, everybody thinks that that's just a myth. That's just bullshit. No, the ripple effect of meth affects the community. We could go on for fucking hours talking about it, right down to the kid not getting his birthday present because his dad spent all the money on meth, or the wife's cars.
You know who Grinch is?
The Grinch?
Grinch?
In the Christmas movies, right?
Well, there's a guy in town here that was a drug dealer. They call him the Grinch because he refused to sell dope to people that had kids around Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
So they called him the Grinch.
So when you guys were feeling, you're saying you can't look people in the eyes, you're doing wrong. How did you maintain a sense of self-worth? Like, what were you saying to yourself to, not hate yourself every day?
I had a beautiful home. I mean, the home I bought was owned by Robert's Fine Jewelry. Robert built it. I mean, so it was marble fireplaces and granite countertops and, white Berber carpet, wet bar. I mean, walkout patio, walkout deck. I mean, beautiful place. And I had a shop. I owned it, I provided my wife with brand new cars. I mean,
yeah, and me too.
My sisters needed something. I never charged them. I always, here, take it. It's
And what we always did is to justify our means. We'd say, well, we ain't as bad as that guy. There's always,
right. I was always generous.
Yeah.
I was always generous.
So you thought that
I'm not toting guns. I'm not dealing with the lowlifes. I'm dealing with the business owners.
Yeah.
People that are responsible.
And we'd use terms like functional. We're totally functional. We're resourceful. We're this or that.
I was a business owner.
Yeah. Me too.
I was paying my taxes.
Yeah. I was paying my taxes. I have 4 kids, a house, and it just really sucked that every single tax return that my wife would be counting on, it always went to fucking lawyer fees or some bullshit that, it pissed her off so much, it wasn't my fault, man. It's a fucking cop's always out to get me, or is this or that, or it was because of that guy. He's stupid, or this, or idiots around me, or whatever. I always had a way to justify why I didn't have any money. I had enough to get by from check to check, and I was making big money at both jobs, my bike shop and my job. We were still going check to check, and we still ended up filing bankruptcy. I got to live in the house for 2 years for nothing. This bankruptcy is worth it. There's always a way to justify the shit. When you're high on meth, there's always a way to justify the shit.
If you had to guess, how much meth did each of you handle throughout your career, I guess you'd call it, in the meth world?
Well, we were saying this the other day, as far as me, because he's been in prison, but I was out there, and I was doing it for 17 years, and I told him, I said, if I did 4 drug deals a day, and how many do you think I really did?
Oh, Joe, you do 4 while I was sitting there for 20 minutes.
Yeah. But, so 4 a day, I'll do the math quick, okay?
For me, I was cooking dope every night. And they were shipping me anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 pills at a time. I had around.
Wow.
That's, I go to Restaurant Supply and buy my and strainers and stuff like that.
At 4 drug deals a day for 17 years, because you don't take a day off.
No.
I never got to see the ocean or a mountain until I got clean. I never left this city. I never seen the ocean. It was fucking cool. I finally went on a cruise when I got clean. But at four deals a day, this is what you end up with in 17 years.
24,820. Is that grams? Or-
That's drug deals.
Wow.
And you said I did that in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was being a very generous number there. So I don't know. but I'm not proud of it, but it was just day after day after day. I mean, I couldn't even go up north to go to my in-laws to go camping because I was afraid I was going to get ripped off, broken into. My bike shop was pretty well fortified, so I could actually go up there for a little while, a couple days, but then I was just up there slinging dope or collecting pills or whatever. So it was all had to do with our new.
I remember driving into my shop one time, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and there's people running around my building looking in the windows. And I pull up. It's like, what are you people doing here? Who are you, you know? Well, we're looking for... Well, I'm him. Hit the road, you know? I got nothing here for you. Beat it, you know? And there was times where people would break into my building, you know? That's why I put security cameras up, you know?
Yeah.
Even boarded over one door so they couldn't get in, the main entrance, you know? And I just used the back entrance. So.
Yeah, the old board across the thing like that.
No, I put
but I had
insulation
them in mine.
and steel and everything over it. I mean, they couldn't even get at the door anymore.
Yeah, I worked in a window shop. I had stainless steel screen on all the windows with leg bolts from the outside, so you couldn't unscrew. I mean, it was bad. But like, I remember one time, me and Johnny were doing a batch in my garage, and his phone was ringing off the hook because people were trying to find him. And then he said, "Screw this." He shut his phone off. Within 2 minutes, my phone started to ring, and it was everybody calling me. Hey, have you seen Johnny? Have you seen Johnny? Have you seen Johnny? So I had to shut my phone off. Then you look outside and they're driving by. And we had to park his car 2 blocks away in the cemetery. What the fuck? Yeah, the struggle was real, man. But, yeah, so, where were we?
Remember one time, Bird Dog and I were in my shop doing up a batch, and then, you know, Tiff,
Yeah.
she came out there, and she was pounding on the door, and she's hollering, she's going to go call the cops and do this and do that. We had to grab a hold of her, duct tape her, and throw her in the van and leave her there until we got done. You know?
Yeah.
Because that crazy woman, you didn't know what she was going to do.
Oh, the women were something else. I was married, so I had.
I was married too, but
yeah, we could do 10 episodes on crazy women, but we no one wants to hear that shit.
So one question I have is, a lot of people, at least I would think, start selling in the modern day because they see shows like Breaking Bad and they're like, wow, you can make so much money cooking and selling this stuff. So if you had to guess, I know it varied, how much money was passing through your hands every day, and how much did you actually end up with when all was said and done, when you got clean?
I've lost everything. Not once, twice. I've just got out of prison again for the second time. I did 939 days for something I didn't do because of my past history.
Wow.
I'm not saying that I wasn't dabbling, because I was. But what they arrested me for and charged me with, I wasn't at the raid, I wasn't present, but they found my laptop there I let somebody use, and I went there and paid a speeding ticket online using my laptop, and I left that behind. And I paid for that person's garbage bill with my credit card. And they come and arrested me, come to my place of employment and arrested me. And took me to jail.
Wow.
I just got it overturned now with a, what do they call it, post-conviction relief. It got released in October.
And if you were cooking batches every night, I imagine in money terms that was a ton, right?
I was making good money, yeah. I paid for my house, I paid for the shop, had front end loaders, I bet I had 75 cars out there, you know. I still got a couple $100,000 worth of tools, toolboxes. Got a 30 by 60 shed yet that's full of tools and equipment, and you know, I don't use it anymore, but it's there.
So what was some of the most surprising things that you guys learned about human nature just through dabbling in the world of meth? Is there something that you learned about people that you didn't expect to learn along the way?
Something that that you've heard the term, and you really didn't kind of understood it, but you really understand it when you do meth. Is misery loves company.
Oh, misery loves company. And growing up in the country life, a small town, I was always pretty honest. And the drug world really opened my eyes to dishonesty and
Deceit.
I mean,
And swindle. And I've seen more swindling than
I made some money in the past, you know, doing drugs, selling drugs or whatever, but I lost a lot too. I got swindled, taken advantage of a lot.
Yeah, if you're doing meth and you're honest, you can't even go up against dishonesty. You can't go up against the swindlers. You can't compete. You can't compete with them at all, because they'll rob you.
I just found out here a couple months ago that there was a contract out on my life back when I had my business. Somebody had approached a couple different people about having me killed, you know. I had no idea. I mean, I knew the person that took the contract out. I mean, he come to my shop one time with a gun, and I took the gun away from him and sent him out the door, you know. And then he went to his mom, and his mom called me up and chewed my ass, you know, a bunch of carny people. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, you tell your kid to stay out of my property and take the guns away from him, you know.
Yeah.
So then he tried to get somebody to kill me, you know. And these people come and told me about it just in the last month or two, you know, that I'm going like, really, you know.
And then when the laws got more serious, you know, like I said, the first timer can get 4 years, 6 years, whatever. Some of the people that we knew that were cooking meth, some of the henchmen, their job was to be lookout and shoot anybody who came on the property. And you know, when I heard this, I couldn't believe it. Were you really going to shoot him? Well, yeah, I was fucking high as hell. Like, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, you know, and that was in the early 2000s. And then...
I remember when Cub Foods first opened up there on Highway 10.
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom there with Jesse Oakes, and I had him up against the bathroom in Cub Foods. I was going to do him in right there, you know, but Chuck Morrow stopped me, you know, said don't, you know, because he was supposed to go get my money, and I mean, he would try to rip me off and stuff like that, you know. And then afterwards, he'd come around and he pointed me out to the cops, you know, and I had him at my shop after that, you know.
And then growing up, were you a wrestler, played sports or anything? Were you...
I wrestled, I played football,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
ran track, you know.
So, for people that have never been high on meth before, you guys talk about, you know, strangling people, duct taping them. I'd shoot the people because I was high. When you're high on meth, do you feel like you almost lose a sense of your humanity? Like your moral compass goes down, or how would you describe that? Like when you're high, you'll do something you wouldn't do when you're sober.
Let me put it to you this way. I sat over here in southeast St. Cloud on the street for 4 hours one night looking for this Mexican that tried to rip us off in a dope deal. It was Jimmy and I. And I had a grub hole handle. It's an oak handle. It's got a bigger end on it. You know, it was an old oak grub hole handle. I had it sitting alongside the seat of the car. Now, I had no driver's license. Jimmy had no driver's license. But we're sitting there on the street watching this place where this guy's supposed to be, waiting for him to come out of the house, because I was going to beat the shit out of him. I was going to teach him a lesson, you know. But the neighbors were watching us, and they called the cops. And we'd been sitting there for like 4 hours. And finally, the cop come around, and I'm sitting out in the middle of the street in this car with no license. I said, "Oh, there's a cop behind me." So I pull over next to the side, the curb. Jess is in the back of the car with us because he's telling us that he isn't responsible. This guy ripped him off, you know. So I pull over, and the cop pulls up alongside me, turns his lights on, gets out, and he wants to see my driver's license. Well, I ain't got a driver's license, you know. I'm just test driving this car. Well, he gets us all out of the car, and Jesse starts walking down the street, just speeds. And they got him in an apartment complex a couple blocks away. We're sitting there in the street waiting for this guy to come out because I'm going to teach him a lesson, you know. I'm going to beat him up with this grub hole handle and get my money back, whatever. And the cops pull up because the neighbors call a suspicious vehicle in, you know. So they get us all out of the car, searches. He finds the dope on me, but he doesn't check the containers. He just sets it on top of his car. He wants to know if there's anything in that car that I'm driving that he should know about, because they don't go for this vigilante stuff.
How much money's worth was in them 2 containers?
Oh, I packed it in there. I mean, it was all just personal stuff. I mean, it was
the good stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, I said, "Well, no." I said, "There's nothing in there." I said, "Really?" I said, "I didn't need my car. I'm just test driving it, you know."
Good answer.
So he goes up to the car and he pulls out this grub hole handle. And he looks at me and he lays it on top of the car. He goes back in the car, opens the center console, pulls out a pistol that I didn't know what was in there. Lays that on top of the car. He goes, "Is there anything in the trunk I should know about?" I said, "I told you, it ain't my car," you know. So he opens up the trunk, he don't find nothing in there. So he goes, "Well," he says, "you haven't got a license, you can't prove there's insurance on the car, so we're going to have to impound it." So they put everything back in the car, the pistol, everything, you know, because the car ain't in my name. They impound it, and the cop goes, "You live out by Duwam, you know, out in the country?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "You live on this other side of Highway 10, he goes, Jimmy lived over behind McDonald's there, and he goes, "Yep." He goes, "Well, can I give you guys a ride someplace? Being your vehicle-less?" And he says, "And I don't want you standing here," he says, "causing problems." And he goes, I go, "Well, yeah, give us a ride to Jimmy's." And Jimmy goes, "Well, just give us a ride over to Steve Moonan's," because he gave me all the dope back. And Steve Moonan is somebody I had just strangled and tried to drown in the lake. You know, this is stuff it's not my nature. But being high on the dope and short fused and stuff like that, I mean, I would never go after somebody with a grub hole handle. Really, I mean,
you had to try and somehow keep a lid on this shit.
Yeah,
you know, and on this people, like I kind of tried to put on a front that I'm crazy as fuck, and so did you. And I mean, it was. Maybe you were actually. I don't know. But,
well, he came to the shop drunk, mad at Patty, stuff like that. Started throwing her around the shop, and scratched me up. You know, he's fighting like a girl and stuff like that. I said,
"Patty who?"
Patty.
Okay.
So he threw up against the door, and she hit the floor. And he took the office chair, and he's going to beat her over the head like this here in my shop. And I took that grub hole handle, I got it back from the cops, and I took it like this here, and I hit him in the back of the head, and he dropped, just boom. I mean, I thought I killed him. He hit the floor so hard, it just laid there. I thought he was dead. Patty got up, Lori looked at me, and I looked at Lori, and I just shook my head. I said, "Now what do I do?" I said, "I killed him," And we all walked out of my shop, shaking our heads, just wondering what we were going to do. And a minute later, here come Todd, running out of the building, going, "That's just what I wanted. You're going back to jail." And I'm out on bail because they'd raided my shop. I was moving everything out, all my equipment out of the building. And I'm going like, "Oh fuck, now I'm going to jail." They're going to revoke my bail. So I
Unless you give me a bunch of dopies.
I hurry up and I hurry up and call the sheriff and report, 911 and say, Todd was here and he assaulted me, he assaulted Patty Bone, and he's drunk. He's headed towards his house, So they go to his house. One comes to my place, one goes to his house, and they're talking back and forth. And they're taking pictures of the scratches he left on me, taking pictures of her and her back, where he threw up against the door, and the broken chair laying there on the floor, and they find his vehicle in his place, but he won't answer the door, so they look in the window and he's laying on the floor, passed out. So they go in the building, they finally get in his house, and they end up getting the ambulance out there and taking him to the hospital because his brain swelled up so bad that they didn't know if he's going to make it, But that's gets to be a long story too, but I would have never done that if I hadn't been high, or...
Yeah, that's normal shit that goes on. That's one of those hospital calls that is not directly linked to meth, but it's directly linked to meth.
Right.
There's a lot of any statistic you see, it's worse than it really is. The statistic should be higher of any kind of anything, Kids, kids are mistreated. Whatever statistic that you're seeing, double it. Would be fair to say. It's crazy, and that's why the cops do not want it. They would rather see us in prison, getting how high as we want in prison. They'd rather see us in there because there's no ripple effect on the community that they're trying to protect. It's not because they use excessive force. It's not because they're all assholes, but they're doing their job because they gotta, There's always bad ones. But
the last time, just before I got busted the last time, I was out. I was dealing with the rougher crowd. It wasn't business owners. It was right down drug dealers, people that shoot one another just you got an ounce of meth on you,
yeah.
Boom, yeah. Take it, That's the people I was dealing with. And you see a lot of crap. They'll rob one another,
Yep.
steal from one another, pound up on one another and stuff like that there, and a week later they're high-fiving, getting together so they can do it to somebody else.
You got jumped one time, didn't you? When you went in somebody's trailer?
Yeah. Well, no.
You
I
told
was
me
in
a
my
story.
camper.
You were in your camper,
I
yeah.
was in my camper.
You told me that story.
5 guys beat me up with a baseball bat. Baseball bats. Broke my jaw, 4 vertebrae in my back, 3 of my ribs. Yeah.
Did you think you were going to live through it at the time?
I kind of went... I remember taking the guy down, after he hit me from behind, And I remember grabbing the guy and taking him down and hitting on him a couple times. And the next thing I know, I'm getting up, and it all happened inside my camper. I had a motorhome, and I'm getting up, and the table's smashed. The camper's cleaned out. They took everything out of the camper, my laptops, everything like that. They emptied it out. And I got to the driver's seat, and the blood is just running down out of my face, into my hands. I'm going like, what the hell? And there's this driveway about 2 miles long, and this chick that was with me is running down she's just about 2 miles away by now, and I caught up to her with the motorhome, and she got in, and I went to my house in Lowry because it was only a couple miles away, and I parked the camper. I said, "You got to take me to the hospital. I said, there's something screwed up. I said, I'm hurt bad. I said, I gotta go to the hospital. Well, she wouldn't drive my motorhome, so we stopped and got my pickup. And then she stole my pickup. She dropped me off and run out and stole my pickup. You know?
Yeah.
And
which
so
is common.
I go in the hospital in Glenwood.
Drop him off at the hospital and steal his truck.
I go to the hospital in Glenwood, the emergency room, and the nurse, it's after hours, and so they buzz me in, and the nurse goes, where's she going with your pickup? Where's that pickup? Is she coming in? I said, well, she's supposed to just parking it, you know? Okay. Well, they said, she just went out the exit. She's not parking it. She just took it, you know? Okay, well, whatever, you know? I need help. I can't worry about that right now. And they go, what happened to you? I says, I said, I need help. I wouldn't tell them what happened, you know? So they call the police in, and the story comes out that I got beat up, you know? I wouldn't tell them who did it. And they call my parents because I need a ride out of the hospital, you know? And my parents come down there, and I'm sitting there, and they look around and go, well, where's Ivan? And the nurse goes, he's right there. Because my face was so swelled up, I mean, they didn't recognize me. I mean, it was just horrible. The next day, the cops come to my house, because my parents took me to my house, and I stayed there. And the cops come to my house, and they wanted me to make a statement on the guy, because they kind of figured out what happened, you know. They found the girl that stole my truck, and she kind of told them what was going on and stuff like that. And he never got charged with it, you know.
Yeah, and then like a couple times. If it's happened to me twice, it's happened to me 5 times. But I'll read in the paper that another dealer, you know, across the river, just got raided, and he's sitting in jail. They caught him with a bunch of stuff, and then the next day or two, I'll have someone show up in my driveway. Hey, what do you want? And he's got all his laptops and all his tools and everything. They just gutted his place, and they bring it to my house, you know, and I kind of cherry pick it, whatever, and grab what I want, and then send him on his way, and then he'll go to the next one or whatever. This is common, happened all the time. When someone gets busted, the cops even know that this happens, but they're not going to patrol it. They don't care. They want you to get all your shit taken, and that's just the way it is. Just the way it is, man, in the meth world. Keep smoking the bubble, guys, and you'll find out.
Yeah.
But so hey buddy. So the first time you went to prison, what happened? When did you stop by my house? How did that go down?
Before I went to prison, the very first time I met you?
Yeah, when you
I
showed
met you
up.
down at Rob and Karen's.
Yeah,
you know?
but then after that, I think I got your phone number or something, and then I called you or something. I said stop on by, and he was really hard to get a hold of. He was pretty slippery guy.
I think Tammy had something to do with that, didn't she? Tammy took me to your place when you lived over there.
Yeah, that was when you got out.
I met you here when I got out.
No.
Yeah, right back here by that little shed.
Yeah, but I mean, when you went in, it was up at the other bike shop.
Yeah, well, you were up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you came in, and he had hit his trailer full of stuff. Explain what was going on with the trailer full of your stuff. And
I had just robbed my own house.
Yeah.
You know, my wife was getting divorced, and she wanted to take everything, wasn't going to give me anything. I intercepted the restraining order in the mail, so I knew it was coming. So I figured I better get everything out of there now.
All your tools and
all my tools and equipment and vehicles and stuff like that there. So I got a bunch of guys together with pickups and trailers, and we went over there, and I broke the window out of the garage and went in and robbed the house. Took all my tools and vehicles, and then I had it stored over here where another buddy was living, moving it down to southern Minnesota gradually, you know. And then
he came up over to my shop, and he came in, And we started talking. At the time, I was doing store entrances. I worked at a gas. I worked in the glass industry for 20 years, 25 years, and we were talking about his new shop he was going to build. He was going to.
We had the shop. We just needed.
Yeah, just going to move everything in there.
Yeah.
So I was gonna do the doors. I don't know if I was feeling you full of shit on that or what. I just wanted some dope from you. I said whatever what I had to
Well,
say.
that one shop down there was they had all that cabinet stuff in there, all the doors and moldings and stuff like
Yeah.
that. There was just tons of it in there.
Yeah, but anyway, so I begged him. I said, just throw me a half gram, you know, and he gave me a half gram, and then away he went, and next thing you know, I heard on the radio that you got busted, and that was the big one, right?
That's when I went down. That's when I went to prison. Yep.
Yeah. And you went to prison for 7.5 years.
He gave me 158 months. It was 13 years, 3 months, but I did 7.5 of that.
Yeah, and so life went on for me, but I was dealing with the cartels and selling their shitty dope, and his wife Tammy, I talked to her all the time, and she called me up one day and said, "Hey, you know who's out?" I said, "Who?" "Oh, Ivan. Ivan's out." You know, "He is? Yeah. You want to talk to him?" I said, "Yeah. Well, were you just outside or something? I don't know, but it's like we'll be there in a minute." And I said, I owe him $50, man." So you walked in, and I said, "I owe you $50," and I gave him $50, right?
No, I said keep it.
Yeah, you should
He's
keep
the
it.
only one that ever offered to pay his debt.
Yeah,
So I said keep it.
$50. Yeah, it's like, and then what's the first thing I said? "You gonna start cooking again?"
Yeah.
Right? You're like, no, I'm done doing that shit. No.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, I've been out there a while, so we started doing a little business here and there, but it's crazy. Wow, what a waste of time. A big waste of time, you know. But what it did provide is for us to tell you, the viewer, about the dangers and the stupid shit that we did when we were on meth, and now with the new technology, explain to the viewers what it was like. What were the cell phones like when you went in, and what were they like when you got out?
Oh, cell phones were just coming in pretty big, you know. Flip phones, you know, the old flip phone, you know, you dialed your number. If you wanted to do an internet thing on it, you could do that, but it was big money to do it, you know. And when I came out of prison, well, I went into prison, gas was like $1.90 or something like that, you know. When I came out of prison, it was $4 or $5 a gallon. And my sister had a smartphone when they picked me up from prison, and I'm going like, what is that? All them little apps on there. I was going like, how in the hell does that even operate? You know, it took me a while to figure them things out, you know.
Yeah. And then going back to the time when you went in, at that time I had a bike shop, and I had a flip phone, or a cell phone, and this was only 20 years ago, people, you know. And this is when I'd still walk in the house and go, "Hey, did somebody call me?" Because we had a landline too. "Hey, did anybody call me, honey?" You know, and they're like, "Oh, so and so did." But so I had this cell phone. It was I used it out in the bike shop, and it was from Quest. You remember Quest? Well, you could do a business line there where I got the first 4 rings out in the shop. It was the only company that you could use your landline number on it.
Really?
Yeah, so I'd get the first 4 rings, and then after that it would go to the house. What a fucking perfect thing for dealing drugs, right? It worked perfect, and it's like I blame Quest, you know. But yeah, it was like unbelievable. And then my kids would tell their friends, if you call, let it ring at least 5 times. Because then I would see it's the kid's number and I'd just let it go through to the house. It worked beautiful, man. And then I would do all these drug deals, and the wife and kids didn't even know I was getting any calls at all. You see? So yeah, I blame Quest. Okay, so Ivan, you've been in prison for, if you add it all up, you'd probably say what?
Pretty close to 15 years.
15 years. And me, you know, I spent about the same amount of time running around fucking lying and to my family, to just being a real piece of shit, menace to society. But I promised, okay, I promised you, the viewer, that I was going to tell you why this guy is my hero. And it happened 2 weeks before I got raided. And I had a Glock 357 with extended clips. I thought it was pretty fucking gangster and shit. Pretty nice gun. I don't know why I had it, to maybe act as a deterrent from, because in the back of my mind I thought I was going to get robbed any day, because I haven't been robbed yet, you know. And so I thought that would be the way to go. And I showed it. He came in my bike shop and I showed it to him, and I said, hey, check this out. And now other people have seen it, my gun, and a lot of people knew laws better than I did. I was terribly naive. And Ivan here said, what'd you say to me?
Get rid of it. It's an aggravated factor. You're going to do some hard time because of it.
And see, I thought that since I didn't have a felony, that I was gonna, you know, my plan for getting clean, and this is really ridiculous, but my plan was I was going to get busted with just a little bit. I didn't have a felony, so it was going to be a slap on the wrist. Then I'd be forced to go into treatment. Then I'd get clean, and I'd have to come clean to everybody else that I did meth, because nobody knew. And that was my plan. But he came in and told me to get rid of the gun. I had no idea that it was going to be, if I got caught with the gun. You said, if you get caught with the gun and drugs in your house, you're going to go away for 5 years. Minimum of 5 years. I didn't know that. And he was fucking, I guess he cared enough about me to actually tell me. All the other fucking pieces of shit wouldn't tell me, because they wanted to see me go down. That's the way the fuckers are, you know. But he cared enough to let me know that. I got rid of the gun. 2 weeks later, the cops came through. The task force came through my door. And so I went to jail, I went to treatment, I went to court. It took me a year to get through the court system, to get sentenced for my charge. And then from that point on, I would have been getting out of prison about 4 months ago. 4 months ago. So at the time, my wife had passed away a year before from cancer, and I had four children. My 10-year-old son I was living with. So all my children were hurting so badly because they lost their mother. And if I would have went to prison, man, my life would have been totally fucking fucked. My family would have been fucked. Everything would have been fucked up. So for that reason, man, you're the guy. And I finally, the other day, I got a message on Messenger, and it said someone wanted to give me a message from, and the name, you know, Ivan. I'm like, fuck, someone must have got a hold, someone must have hacked him or something. And I said, what was the name? What was your wife's name? And he said, well, the first one was
Deborah,
and the second one was Tammy. I said, hey, Ivan, how you doing, man? and I said, call me. And he called me. I said, what, are you clean? He goes, yeah, he's 2 years clean now. I said, fucking awesome. And the funny thing is, and I'm not trying to cut down anybody, but for me to find an old buddy, an old using friend, that, and I told him this, and you laughed your ass off a couple days ago. I said, to find somebody who is actually clean that I used to know, and not only clean but intelligent, is like a fucking miracle in my world. And so yeah, we've been reunited, man, and he's my man, man. All right, good to see you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, see ya.